I did my presentation on the Battle of Vicksburg. The Battle of Vicksburg was the 33rd battle fought in the Civil War. It was fought from May 18th to July 4th of 1863. The bottom is some pictures of just what everybody saw at there. Okay, and then the Battle of Vicksburg was one of the most hard-fought battles of the Civil War. At Vicksburg, Mississippi, General Grant hoped to break the Confederate grip on the Mississippi River once and for all. If the Union controlled the Mississippi, the Confederacy would be broken in half. The Confederate forces in the east could no longer receive supplies and troops sent from the west. But taking the city proved a challenge. The city sat on the high bluffs overlooking the river. From the bluffs, Confederate guns could rain fire on any Union boat. North of the city lay a tangle of thick woods and swamps. Marching men through them was impossible. In a campaign beginning in late 1862, Grant did everything he could think of to get at Vicksburg. First, Grant tried to secure a foothold north of the city. He sent troops under General William Tecumseh Sherman down the Mississippi in boats to the place where the Yazoo River flowed into the Mississippi. Sherman and his men streamed up the Yazoo to attack Confederate forces at the Chickasaw Bluffs. The attack, made on December 29th, failed. In early 1863, Grant tried to hack a channel through the swamps north of Vicksburg. He hoped to float his men through the channel and attack Vicksburg from the north. Midwestern farm boys, eager to fight rebels, found themselves waist deep in mud and sawing trees 8 feet underwater. The task proved impossible. The solution that finally brought victory was a bold one. Grant moved his men across the Mississippi to the western banks of the river. Then he marched them south until they were below Vicksburg. On the night of April 16, 1863, Grant sent a fleet of gunboats and supply barges down the river in an attempt to push past the Confederate guns. Despite heavy Confederate fire, the ploy succeeded. Now south of Vicksburg, Grant's ferried men and supplies across the river. In a risky move he had learned from Winfield Scott in the Mexican War, Grant cut himself off from his supply lines except for the ones that gave him ammunition and medical supplies. He battled his way to Vicksburg and attacked the city, but was unable to break the Confederate line around it. Still, he had his enemy completely surrounded. Grant ordered his men to dig in, and after a 2-month siege, the starving Confederates surrendered. From the Confederate commander, John C. Pemberton, Grant demanded unconditional surrender. The Mississippi now belonged to the Union, and Grant was a hero. The leaders on both sides of the Battle of Vicksburg, for the Union, it was Major General Ulysses S. Grant, and on the Confederate side, it was Lieutenant General John C. Pemberton. Major General Ulysses S. Grant's military career started when he was a cadet at West Point. He made his name known in Tennessee at Fort Donelson and then at the Battle of Shiloh. Some of his other great victories include Vicksburg, Chattanooga, and the Overland campaigns. Grant's success in the West boosted his reputation, leading ultimately to his appointment as General-in-Chief of the Union armies. And then after surrendering Vicksburg and being barred a traitor by Southerners, Pemberton spent the remainder of 1863 and the spring of 1864 in Virginia, an officer without command. Boredom and a desire to render faithful service to his adopted country prompted the former Northerner to write President Jefferson Davis for an assignment. Unable to procure a position commensurate with his rank, Pemberton resigned his general's commission and made a lieutenant colonel of artillery. After commanding the Richmond Defense Battalion, he was made Inspector General of Ordnance before the surrender of the Confederate armies in April of 1865. The casualties of Vicksburg. In the Union Army, there were 806 casualties, and the Confederates had 805. There were 3,940 wounded on the Union side and 1,938 on the Confederate side. There were 164 Union soldiers missing or captured and 29,620 Confederate soldiers missing or captured. The total rounded off to somewhere near 40,000, but that was because they had so many Confederates that were captured or missing. And then the picture in the background is actually a picture of the battlefield at Vicksburg. This was the hill that led up into Vicksburg where all the Confederates had all their cannons. The first link is an animated map of the Vicksburg battlefield, and the second one is a video about the siege of Vicksburg.